Wow. That's all I got. Thank you once again for tuning in to this episode of Asbrock's Bengals Thoughts. I am once again Chris Asbrock from Impact Sports Cincinnati. And I tell you what, there's nothing else you can really say. Let's be honest here. Is this football team going to win a game this season? I don't know. I have honestly no idea if they will win a game the rest of this year. This right here was probably one of your best opportunities to pull one off. And once again, too little, too late for the Cincinnati Bengals. And, in terms of playing the Arizona Cardinals, the Cardinals they were winless as well. 0-3-1 coming into this game, while the Bengals were 0-4 coming into this game. And, again, I didn't get a chance to write my preview for the site earlier today, or get it up earlier today, so I recorded one via podcast, and I thought, because I'm a moron, I thought the Bengals would come away. I thought, back and forth on exactly how this game would play out. I'm an idiot. I thought that they would pull this off, and what was I thinking? I picked them 23-20, I think it's, or 20-17. Can't remember off the top of my head. But they just, again, this team finds a way to lose games. The defense, against Kyler Murray, you think that, if you put some pressure on a rookie quarterback, you could have, some success. It's not what happened, obviously. And, the Bengals now are really, truly staring 0-16 right in the face. And that's a legit possibility here for this team. You get the ball, you drive down the field, and you can only get 3 points out of it. And that's been the Bengals' mantra. It seems like all this year, and they get to a certain point, and then they can't get anything going. So if you look at looking here at the final individual statistics here from the game book. Kyler Murray, he was, 10. He was the leading rusher for the Arizona Cardinals today. He had 93 yards on the ground on 10 attempts. That's 9.3 yards, per carry. He had a long of 24 with a touchdown. David Johnson carried the ball 17 times for 91 yards. Joe Mixon had a good day for the Bengals. 19 rushes for 93 yards, an average of 4.9 per carry. He did have a long run of 18. Giovanni Bernard chipped in with 2 rushes for 10 yards, and Andy Dalton 2 rushes for 5 yards. So together, collectively, it was 23 rushes for 108 yards. But you look back on the other side of it, the Cincinnati Bengals, 38 yards or 38 rushes for the Bengals defensively they faced. They gave up 266 yards on the ground. Now, that's an average of 7 yards a carry. They gave up their longest rush that they gave up was from Edmonds, who had a 37-yard rush. That was the longest play there. This team, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I really don't. Again, you have your chance to knock off a team that's winless as well, and you can't at home, and it's, you go 20 of 32, or you let a rookie, Kyler Murray, go 20 of 32 for 253 yards. He was sacked once. That was by Sam Hubbard. And after that, you can't get anything going. The offensive line played better today. Andy Dalton was only sacked once. Andy Dalton had 2 touchdowns, but he was 27 to 38 for 262 yards. And the majority of those came right at the end of the game. Granted, they still had a chance to get back into it. I mean, hell, this team tied it up with 2 minutes to go on a 42-yard pass to Tyler Boyd. And, Tyler Boyd was targeted 14 times. He hauled in 10 receptions for 123 yards. That's 12.3 yards, through the air. I mean, this has to, it's maddening to see what's happened with this team. They've had, if you count, 9 different receivers had receptions today. Andy Dalton was spreading it around. David Willis only had 38 yards receiving. Auden Tate only had 26. So, yeah, while he was spreading it around, the passes, I mean, the yardage just wasn't there. And, when you look at, Willis, his longest reception was 12 yards. Auden Tate's was 15, and Joe Mixon's was 16. At one point, Mixon's, it was on the final drive, or the second to last drive. The pass to Joe Mixon, or the reception he got, was 16 yards. That was the longest for the Bengals this game at one point. Obviously, that was before the 42-yard touchdown pass to Tyler Boyd. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, are we at the point now to where do we have to seriously look at tearing this apart and, making some trades and rebuilding? Now, I don't want to completely give up on Zach Taylor. I'm not in that camp just yet. I know Nick. I know Nick is. He's ready, and he was wanting to bring him in. I know he's ready to kick him out now. But I still feel that there's a chance to make this right. But I don't think a rebuild is. I don't think a rebuild is going to take as long as people would think. I think if you are able to trade AJ Green, I'm in that camp. I think you have to do it. I think you get rid of AJ Green if you're able to bring in at least a first round pick that will give you 2 in the first round. There's some guys obviously you don't want to get rid of, but I think Joe Mixon is another one that I think if you start making the moves, I think Joe Mixon would want out. Granted, I don't want to get rid of him. Obviously, I think Joe Mixon I think he's one of the best running backs in the league in my opinion. He just has to have that opportunity. But the offensive line has not given that to him at all this year. But again, he had a pretty solid day on the ground today. 93 yards. That's getting it done. But it's tough now. Like I said, are we at the point now to where do we look at a total rebuild and start dealing some of the pieces away and start bringing in through the draft and free agency, because there's going to be some. There's going to be some moves that you can make and some contracts that you can cut to in turn help build up this team, moving forward. I think if you look at the rebuild mode, I think next year would be out. But then the following year after that, I mean, hell, you got your chance to really, to get something going. But this is tough. I mean, it's maddening. I mean, you look at the final team statistics here. The Cardinals ended up with 26 first downs compared to the Bengals 21. Third down, again, the Bengals did an okay job of getting off the field on third down. They held the Cardinals to 6 of 13, so 46%, while the Bengals were 5 of 12 for 42% on third down. The Cardinals did get the 1 first down, but giving up 514 total net yards compared to only gaining 370 on your end. That's not going to cut it. I mean, the Cardinals had 266 net yards rushing. You're getting owned like that on the ground. You're not gonna get much out of it. The passing. I mean, again, Andy Dalton ended up with more passing yards than Kyler Murray did, which you would expect. I mean, I would expect that. Kyler Murray only 248 net yards compared to 262 for Andy Dalton, but the net punting average was relatively the same. 40.3 for the Cardinals and 41 even for Kevin Huber in the Bengals. Penalty wise, I mean, the Bengals did a great job. Penalties, they only had 7 for 60 compared to 12 for 96 for the Arizona Cardinals today. They gave up the 2 rushing touchdowns, and that was it. And the Bengals did a great job in the red zone of only holding the Cardinals to 1 of 6 in red zone efficiency. I mean, that you hold them to 4 or 5 field goals, and you get 1 of 3 in the 1 of 3 in the red zone, so that's 33%, and yet you still can't win this. The Cardinals had just over 31 minutes of time possession compared to 28 minutes and 57 seconds for the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, this is what's disheartening about this game is the fact that the Bengals fought back and once again found a way to lose. That's 3 games this year that they have given the chance, and literally they've peed it right away, right at the end. And again, there's nothing more you can really say when you look at this. It's aggravating. You look at the drives, the ball possession and drive chart here for the Cardinals. Punt, touchdown, missed field goal. So therefore, their first 3 drives, they only got a touchdown out of it, and they end up giving the ball away on a punt and a missed field goal. So what did the Bengals do? A field goal, a punt, and a punt. Those right there, then you can't. Those first 3 drives, when you're trading that and you only get a field goal out of that, and that was, after you get the punt in the first drive, but then you can't take advantage of it after a missed field goal, and you can't take advantage of responding after giving up a touchdown. That's when you have to respond and get these things back, but they can't. That's where we have the problem here, is where they cannot get, they can't respond, appropriately. You're trading field goals for touchdowns. You're not going to get much here. But then, the Bengals had 9 total possessions, and the Cardinals had 10. And that 10th one was the one that took 2 minutes off the clock and ended up in a field goal. And what did the Bengals do? All they could do was nothing. Watch it. They watched the Cardinals march six plays and 62 yards, take a total of 2 minutes off the clock, and kick a game-winning field goal. And now the Bengals are going back with their tail between their legs at 0-5, while the Arizona Cardinals get to fly back to Glendale with a 1-3-1 record. And I know it's not much, but, you get the victory out of it. This is what you look, if you actually take a chance to really, look at the game book here, it really, just the eye test watching it on TV compared to, you see it and then you actually watch, what played out, and you see the stats in front of you. It's maddening. It is truly maddening. You look at the drive, and it was the 5th drive of the game for the Cincinnati Bengals. It was in the 3rd quarter. They go 15 plays, 70 yards, and they take 6:26 off the clock, and it ends in a field goal. They get all the way down to the Arizona 5 and can't do anything with it. You can't afford to have that happen. You have to take advantage of the opportunities presented to you, and that's something this Bengals team has not done this year. And we've reached the point now to where the excuses are done. There's no excuses. The offensive line played, like I said, they played a hell of a lot better than what they did last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And yet you're playing another winless team, and you can't. That's 2 straight games you've played a winless team and given them their first win of the season. That's simply unacceptable. And this is a tough pill to swallow, especially when you look at the schedule, because when are the Bengals going to get a win out of it? I'm not seeing one. You look at, let's see if I can pull it up here real quick. It's not, NFL.com's not one to work for me here, but let's see, trying to get this going here. Let's see. Well, this is not, it's not going how I want. Here we go. I'm pulling it up here right now from Bengals.com. So you're looking at next week against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Baltimore, what do you expect out of that one? You expect a loss. That's on the road in Baltimore. You come home on October 20th against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not seeing a win there. Then you finish up right before the bye week against the LA Rams in London. You're going to get pummeled in that game. There's no way. That's at Wembley, and I tell you what, that's going to be, the English fans are going to get a chance to watch the Bengals get pummeled, and on international soil, because the Rams are going to take it to them, because that's something you're going to want to see. I don't know. It's tough. Then you go into the bye week and you open up the bye week with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, that's one, but it's in Oakland, so I don't feel anything special on that one. So there's another loss. Then you come home on November 24th to face the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, you saw what they did to us last week on Monday Night Football. I can't expect anything different here. The New York Jets. No, I don't see the Jets. I don't see the Jets losing that. That's here at Paul Brown Stadium. Not seeing anything happening here. Week 14, you're at Cleveland. To be honest, here you're not going to beat the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland, I think, is one of the better teams in the division. I know I'm in the minority on that one, but I still feel Cleveland is a pretty talented team and one that can do damage. Week 15, you got the Patriots coming to town. Not happening there. Patriots are going to pummel you as well. And then your only shot at a win maybe is Week 16 at Miami. Now, let's be honest. Are the Bengals better than Miami? Not anything that I've seen. I still think, I think the Bengals could easily be the worst team in football right now. And then you wrap it up against the Cleveland Browns at home. Hell, you got a chance to go 0-16. I can tell you right now, the Cleveland Browns are they're gonna do what they can to make sure you go 0-16 if you're in that position. So it's not looking good here for us. Let's be honest. It's time to take a step back and accept it for what it is. We knew that if this team, and I still truly believe this, I still feel that if this team stayed healthy for the majority of the season, I felt that they would be a contender, especially in this division. And that's with a full offensive line. That's with Jonah Williams being here and everything like that. But in Cordy Glenn playing, that hasn't been the case. And now I don't know, what do you do? How do you handle that moving forward? And what do you have to do for this team? That's where it's really going to fall on the shoulders of Katie Blackburn and Troy and Duke Tobin. And, the word's out there that there's some teams that really, really, really want the Bengals, players. Now, with that being the case, how do you handle that? Are you able to actually accept that and move forward and make trades? If you do, you're going to put yourself in a good spot to build your team up through this next draft. Hell, if they can, if they do it right, that's where this can really move forward. I just think a lot of things went against us this year in terms of injuries and everything like that. We never got a chance to get things really going and flowing offensively because the offensive line has just been bad. And but again, that's no excuse. I'm not making any excuses for why this team is 0-5 because let's be honest, they just haven't had it. They just haven't made it happen, and that's what that was where it falls on the team. So it's not on injuries or anything like that. But I know I'm rambling on now, but I'm at a loss. I'm really just kind of where do you go from here? That's kind of where it's at. This is tough. This is really, really tough now. And especially when if there was any little bit of hope, I felt that you had at least 2 or 3 games that you should have a victory in at this point in time in the season, and yet you can't get them going. That's where I'm kind of like, well, we've got a problem here. And this is tough. This is a really tough. It's a tough pill to swallow, especially for this team and this fan base who, let's be honest, over the last couple decades, it's been sheer hell, and that's what we're experiencing now. Kind of feels like we're kind of falling back into that, even though, like I said, I'm not ready to give up on Zach Taylor just yet. I still think that there's an opportunity to right this ship in terms of this team ain't coming back, and the season's over. Plain and simple. At 0-5, you're not doing anything. You're not coming out. You're not making the playoffs. So you can get that, but you can kind of build. You can build for the future, and that's what they have to look forward to right now, in terms of who's going to be here. In terms of looking at contracts and everything like that, who can we deal for possible draft picks and everything like that. That's what you have to look at moving forward, and I think I think you have to, in terms of AJ Green, I think you have to move him. I think you can get something out of him. I think, guys like, Carlos Dunlap, who, a lot of the guys, and it's hard because a lot of these guys are very loyal to the organization. And that's something we haven't experienced in a while. It seems like we've always had, guys who have won it out. And I understand that. And honestly, if I were, like a guy like Joe Mixon, something like that, if I wanted out, I don't blame him at all for wanting out in this situation. I would prefer to keep him, but I think AJ's aging. I think you can get a first for him. Plain and simple. It's just now how do the Bengals value their players? And with the trade deadline moving forward, the rumor is teams have contacted the Bengals and they're trying to get their feelers out on exactly what to look forward to and see what the Bengals are expecting. It's the Bengals are one team that's hard to read. That's the thing with the Cincinnati Bengals is you don't know how to expect what they're going to do moving forward. They've always done things a certain way, but that's changed. With the Zach Taylor era here, especially with Katie and Troy taking over, you've seen coaches fired, you've seen the Bengals be active in free agency, you've seen them make trades, things that we haven't seen in years past. They're starting to do. So that's why it's not out of the question for me that they make some moves, moving forward and trading and hopefully getting some draft picks. Look what the Dolphins have done. The Dolphins are going to be drafted, it seems like, 47 times in the first round with some of the guys that they've given up. And, hey, I'm all for it. If we can do that, it's going to suck to have some of these guys leave, but, it's, I still think you got a good chance to build for the future here. And I think the future can be bright. If you're able to bring in a new quarterback next year through the draft, there's some guys out there, go for it. It would be nice to have AJ Green to throw to, but hell, if you can get somebody in, get him or send him away for a draft pick, there you go, and go from there. But again, at 0-5, this is tough. This is a really tough pill to swallow. It's not even 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon right now, and I'm already like, I'm putting dirt on the grave right now. It's done. It's game, set, match here in terms of the Bengals football season. Which you get a win here, you're only at worst 2 games out of the division, and unfortunately they just they couldn't get it done. They scored apparently with too much time left because the defense couldn't step up after your offense battles all the way back and ties it up in an impressive fashion. Plain and simple, you look at the last 2 drives for the Cincinnati Bengals, a 10-play, 79-yard drive, and then a 4-play, 81-yard drive that took over, took 4 minutes and 45 seconds for that. That's the toughest part, and it's. Again, I'm guilty of it just as much as the next person. It's tough. I remember being down at the stadium during the lost decade and watching those teams and wondering if it was ever going to change. And then you see the change where Marvin Lewis comes in, and you see the upward trajectory of this team, and you're like, okay, hell, we got a good shot here. And then obviously that kind of, plateaued. And then the Bengals make the nice move of bringing in Zach Taylor. And I was all for it. I still think, I'm still going to give him a chance here and not, and not get rid of him. I still think there's something to be done with him. But it's maddening. But, I'm still going to be, as much as it sucks, I'm still going to be here loving my Cincinnati Bengals, right from kickoff to the final whistle. So, this is tough, but it's at the point now to where you really have to really look forward to the future and what can be done through the draft. There's obviously a couple quarterbacks out there. The Bengals, let's face it, the Bengals are going to be drafting within the top 3. I still feel that they're definitely one of the worst teams in football at this point in time. But I'm curious to see. You're going to have Jonah Williams coming back. next season. So there's one of your tackles. For God's sakes, I would hope Cordy Glenn's going to come back and see what he's going to provide. But again, you really have to start looking forward to the future and what you can get for some of these guys here as we move forward into the 2020 off season or into the 2020 season and the off season, following this. But again, I will be back every week doing these videos. I truly enjoy it, and I'll be, as much as it sucks after a game day, I will still be here. So, as always, make sure you check me out on Twitter at I am Chris Asbrock and Impact Sports Cincinnati, which is feeltheimpactsports.com. Make sure you check me out. I'll be posting this on my podcast page as well, the audio version of it. As always, you can check it out on my YouTube page as well. So, again, thank you guys as always for your support and watching these videos. I truly do appreciate it. And it's rough. But again, thank you guys and have yourselves a fantastic rest of your Sunday.